Hello lovelies, how are you all doing today? I hope you are well. I'm well and all the better for a bit of sunshine at last. We're well into May. Oh, ow, I got that a bit too hot. Splashed myself. Yeah, we're well into May now. I don't know what the date is, about the 5th or 6th. And we are only just getting sunshine. I thought I was going a bit mad, thinking, about the weather, getting obsessed with the weather being rubbish. But I know I'm not obsessed, I know I'm not wrong, because just in the last few days I've been uploading old gardening videos onto my Facebook page, because I know folk are missing the gardening. And I thought, oh, I know, it'll be a good idea. I can go to one of my previous years and put those videos out on my Facebook page in sort of real time, as it were. So in other words, this is what I was doing on this day in the garden a couple of years ago. You get the drift. And I've inadvertently picked 2020 to do the videos from. It was quite a good gardening year. I'd forgotten it was the pandemic. It was Compostgate, all that, but never mind. The reason I'm just mentioning it today is because finding those old videos again to upload, oh my goodness, the weather was gorgeous. Wall-to-wall sunshine from March, and so now by this beginning of May, I've got my tan. Anyway, never mind that. Right, I'm just doing a bit of cooking. This isn't a cooking video as such. It's going to be a chatting video, because once this is underway we're going to sit down and chat. But I'm killing two birds with one stone. Let me come behind you for ingredients. I'm making a bit of a mess. I'm making a sort of a leftovers soup, and it's going to be really, really orange. Do you remember when I did my cooking week? This is leftover squash. It's a little bit frosty. I didn't get these out last night to defrost, so it's going to take a while to come to the bubble. So I've just put onions and garlic in, and I'm going to chuck in, that was the leftover squash. I don't know how much it's almost 2 cups, I reckon. Then that's leftover sweet potato. So I had a little bit left over from those videos you saw when I was doing my week of eating, and I've had another sweet potato since that I used for a curry, so a bit more left over. So that's going in, and then leftover carrots, they got chopped and frozen. So that's my veggies: squash, sweet potato, carrots, bright orange. I'm going to chuck in a cup of lentils for thickening. I'm going to put in some spices. I'm going to use the spices, excuse me a sec, that I used in that sweet potato stew. So chili, paprika, cumin and some turmeric, make it even more orangey yellow. That's all going to get blended, and then what I may do, because obviously the lentil is going to give me a bit of protein and thickening, but what I may do, after blending it, I'm going to give it a taste, and I might at that stage then add a tin of chickpeas, add it after the blending so the chickpeas stay whole in the soup. I might do, I might not. So talking of blender, let's get that out and ready. Oh, disappearing. My magic cupboard of everything. So I'm basically going to make an orangey coloured soup today, but that's, like I said, this isn't a recipe video. I'm going to chat about all sorts of other stuff, including, let's get some spices in. Right, I'm just going to get this all in and then I can concentrate. So a heaped one of turmeric. Turmeric's supposed to be really good for inflammation. I've actually used turmeric quite a lot in the past, and not noticed for me that it's made a great deal of difference, but it might for your plenty of cumin. Yeah, let's pop all that in there. just as soon as the spices hit the warm oil, it's going to make me hungry as I'm chatting. Yeah, so I'm going to talk about a few different things today, but one of the things I'm going to be talking about is globally is sort of sponsorship, freebies, Patreon, and I think it's called the thank you button on YouTube, and the fact that I don't do any of it. Right, let's get all these in. This is going to be an absolute whack load of beta carotene. I was mentioning the other day that I've been having fruit again, because after that cold, or whatever that bug was, yeah, I just felt like I needed a little bit of extra help. So I had a load of blueberries to begin with, but they're quite expensive blueberries, aren't they? So if you're kind of trying to stick to a 50p a day budget, that's the stock going in. Yeah, you don't get many blueberries for 50p. I mean, obviously buy a punnet of them for like £1.50 and divvy them out. So I've been having like apples and satsumas. Let's do, yeah, a cup of lentils. So I don't often always have fruit, not by any means. It's one of those things I think, you know, I can do perfectly well without. It's a bit of a treat. I think of fruit as a treat. Fruit to me is like pudding. And I was thinking about pudding the other day, how I love pudding. But my goodness, I can't remember the last time I had pudding. I think it was getting on for like a couple of years ago after I'd had that horrible lung infection, and Richard and Paul came over for the day and they brought all the food, they'd done all the cooking, they just treated me like, you're the patient, sit there, you're recovering. And we had an apple crumble and custard for pudding. Oh, it was lovely. But yeah, so I was thinking about puddings the other day and how, oh my goodness, I love puddings, but how many of us eat puddings? Certainly not on a regular basis. When I was a kid, pudding was only on a Sunday after the Sunday meal, the middle of the day main meal. And I've talked about all these puddings before, you know, the syrup sponge pudding with custard, spotted dick and custard, rhubarb crumble and custard, or just stewed fruit, stewed rhubarb, stewed gooseberries and custard. And then I suddenly had this flashback memory to when I was living in West London, much, much further into town, closer into town. And quite often on a Sunday we'd take a walk along the Thames so where we live, we'd join the river a little bit downstream from Hammersmith, and we'd be walking upstream towards Chiswick. And just enjoying watching all the rowing clubs out on the river doing their bit of rowing, even in winter. You feel sorry for them being pelted with rain or whatever. And there was a pub right on the river. I think it was called the Dove. I seem to remember it was called the Dove. And it's a gorgeous place, a little higgledy-piggledy place with really small rooms and sort of step up and then step down, and it's sort of like dark and cosy, and you can imagine a ghost story or a thriller being written there. But yeah, we loved to pop into the Dove after our walk for a bit of Sunday lunch. Now at that place they did very, very traditional fare, probably catering to the rowing frat down there, which are probably lots of ex-Etonians and ex-Harrow. So it was very much, yeah, it was old-fashioned food, but they had a fantastic pudding menu, absolutely brilliant. And it was all those traditional puddings, the spotted dicks, the syrup sponge with custard. And my attitude in life is, you know, I eat well most of the time, I behave myself, but going out on a Sunday, going down the Dove, 3 puddings. So my starter, I would have a pudding. My main course, I'd have a pudding. And for my pudding, I'd have a pudding, because this is the only pudding I'm going to get this week and maybe for the rest of the month. Oh, I was thinking about that the other day and thinking, oh yeah, I want a 3-course pudding menu right here, right now, at home. So if it was winter, what would it be? Maybe start off with some stewed fruit and a bit of custard. And for my main, I would have syrup sponge and custard. And then for pudding, rhubarb crumble and custard. I'd love it. But if it was the summer, because that's very much winter puddings, isn't it? In the summer, I think it would have to be something like, let's start with cheesecake. Love cheesecake. And for my main course, it would have to be Eton mess. I love Eton mess. Basically, it's meringues and cream or ice cream and fruit and yum. I used to ask for Eton mess for my birthday cake. Instead of a birthday cake when I was a kid, I just wanted Eton mess. Give me strawberries, ice cream and meringues and I'm a happy bunny. And then what would I have for pudding? Well, maybe just some fruit as a palate cleanser. Yeah, puddings. This is what I was talking about the other day when I said how our brains ping off and take us to places. Just the act of eating a satsuma the other evening, and I was thinking about puddings and the treat of a pudding, and then suddenly remembering those wonderful Sunday afternoons, really lovely, long, lazy Sunday afternoons, a fire blazing, it's howling gales outside, cosy, eating pudding. Right, that's on the go. I'm going to leave it. It's got to take a minute to come up to, well, a few minutes to come up to temperature. So let's have a sit down and carry on with our natter. Whew, I feel quite warm now. Finally, the temperature's warming up. Gosh, about time too, hey? Right, that's going to take a while to come back to come to the boil. Once I can hear it, it'll come to the boil. I'll turn it down to the simmer. We can just ignore that and let it do its own thing. That's the beauty of soup, isn't it? Just leave it alone. Yeah, so another little foodie thing, before I come on to the main subject. I'm reading a book at the moment, which I'll tell you about in a book video, and it's all about cod, the fish. I know, random thing. But there's a bit in it, and it's written sort of chronologically, so we start in about the 10th century, and I'm towards the end of the book, so I'm right up into the 20th century now, and talking about in Britain, it was a sort of a government-backed thing of giving kids and the elderly cod liver oil. It's a book about cod. There's cod liver oil, and I suddenly had this whooshing flashback memory of being a kid and cod liver oil. God, disgusting, vile stuff. In the mornings, this was so we only had it in the winter, but it was that thing of we've had our breakfast, we're dressed, we've had our breakfast, we've got our school bag, and I'm talking from the age of 5 or 6, and in those days, well, my mum didn't drive, so we walked to school, and we didn't get walked by a parent, we set off on our own, little 5-year-old me walking off, and school was a long way away, like howling wind and rain, and so just before we left the front door, we queued up and we were given a Halib orange, and it was a little vitamin C tablet, a spoonful of cod liver oil, and then the final thing, and this was what I was like, oh yes, a spoonful of malt extract. Oh my God, I loved malt extract. I could eat it from the spoon. I hadn't had it for years, and then a few years ago, I don't know, a memory was prompted, again, like I was saying about how our brains work and things just pop into our minds. and then that little thing will not go. We have to attend to what's bugging us. So I got some malt extract again. I noticed a lot of them. I found it quite hard to find a pot of it that didn't have cod liver oil added, because obviously as a vegetarian I'm not going to have the one with cod liver oil. But anyway, loved it again as an adult. But the reason I bought it, it was more of a nostalgia thing, because I really did love the taste of it. So because of this book, so we're back into today, because of this book and that memory, I thought, you know, I know we always had malt extract in the winter as kids, and I know it's like, oh, ward off the sniffles. But what are the health claims of it, if you like? So I actually went online and had a quick little squiz, and I was thinking, I might start having it again, but I'd like to do a little bit more research. This was a scanty look, but it is said to improve digestive health. I'm going to come back around to that one because that's the one I'm interested in. Improve heart health, improve immune function, well that's got to be good, Ward. And even as a mood enhancer. So the thing about the digestive health, and that does tie in with immune function, is from what I've read, it's helping to support gut bacteria. It's helping to, you know, keep the good ones alive and proliferating. So I thought, oh, I'm going to do a little bit more reading. Now, I don't know how much it costs these days, but you just take a teaspoon a day. But I was thinking, wow, if something can do me some good and it tastes that yummy, maybe I will start using it again for the winter. So maybe like next or this year, but as we get to sort of October or so, malt extract. But definitely, I ain't going anywhere near cod liver oil. It was fat. It was on the. I think today when you see cod liver oil, it's in capsules. So by the time it's gone down, you don't taste it. Although I'm imagining that if you did a little burp later on, you might have a fishy burp. Sorry if that's TMI for some people. But yeah, it was on, I just remember it being on the spoon and that horrible feeling of this sort of greasiness of it on my lips and in my mouth. It was like, quick, give me the... So it was like 2 spoons, you know, in goes the cod liver oil, quick, get the malt extract, and then lick the spoon like the spoon is a lollipop. Wow. Yeah, anyway. So what I wanted to talk about today mainly, apart from fantasising about pudding and malt extract, it's the subject of sponsorship. We'll tackle sponsorship first because, well, I mentioned that I had that lovely letter from Nikki, really lovely letter, just so beautifully written, helping me to picture her in her room and what she is, so lovely. But she'd also mentioned at the end that I should get some promotion work, and why don't I get Wild, that deodorant company, to sponsor me, because I'm saying really nice things about their product, etc, etc. And I totally get where she's coming from, and it was all done, you know, it's done really nicely and really positively. But the fact is, I wouldn't do that, and I never have in any of my videos. I've never been sponsored right from the get-go, and I sort of don't want to be. It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because if I look down, excuse me, because I wrote a load of notes about this, because it's important stuff to me, and I want people to know this about me. It is important to me. Yeah, on the one hand, I think, God, well, it'd be easy money, wouldn't it? Just give me a couple of grand for showing your product. Brilliant. And I could really, really do with the money. But I think the fact that none of anything I've ever shown you, because it isn't sponsored, excuse me, I am able to say exactly what I want about a product. I don't have to say I like something because I'm being paid to. So if I say I like something, I genuinely like it. But I'm also free to say I don't like something. So like that recipe kit thing that came, I thought it was an absolute waste of money. I mean, fortunately I paid just the postage and I used bits of it, but I certainly wouldn't pay the full price. For me, the full price, it would be an absolute waste of money. Now, it might not be for other people. I'm just talking about for me, my own experience, what have you. So I was free to say that. I'm free to rubbish it, if you like, because I didn't like it. So I think the most important thing is that because you know that I'm not sponsored for anything, you can trust me when I say I like something. So for instance, and I've used it again today, the stock powder I use. I've mentioned it a few times, I've shown it a few times, because I genuinely like it and I genuinely use it over and over and over again. It's like sometimes you see someone using a gadget in a video and you know that they've been sent that gadget for free to demonstrate it. They may even have been paid to make that video, and then you never see the gadget again because actually it's a bit awkward to use. It doesn't suit them, what have you. But, you know, people are obliged to say, look, isn't it marvellous? So yeah, everything you see in my videos is stuff that I genuinely like, because I genuinely use it because I genuinely like it, and the chances are it's stuff that I've been using for years and years and years and years. Like even when I was talking about the pots and pans in my week of cooking, I'm not trying to promote anything. I'm not trying to get money back for myself. I don't do any of those affiliate link things either. So, you know, every time someone goes out and buys something on my recommendation, I don't even make a single penny. And that's another active choice. I did initially join that Amazon affiliates thing, but the more I read about Amazon, the more I didn't like them, and I thought, no, I don't want to be associated with them in any way. So, you know, over the past, when people have bought books based on my book reviews, what have you, I don't see a penny of it, and that's fine. It's absolutely fine. Now, the thing about the freebies, see, that's an interesting one, isn't it? Because if someone wants to send me something, a company, and say, oh, we'd love to send you such and such, well, is there any harm in me accepting it? Well, a couple of things there. One, firstly, I've had so many messages where a company say, we love your channel, we think our product would fit great with your channel, let us send it to you and you can use it. And it's supposed to be like no strings attached. So I always write back to them to say, oh, thank you for that, or I've learned to. What is it about my channel that you like? And they haven't got a clue because they've never watched my channel. They're just doing a blanket sweep of channels. There was a time a few years ago, quite funny, they must have looked at any channel that does a bit of gardening because they wanted to send me some grow lights. And I replied very politely back. I said, thank you for offering those to me, but I don't use anything artificial like that. I grow with nature. I use whatever nature gives me. And then a couple of weeks later, pretty much every UK gardening channel was going, look at my new grow lights. And it was, so this company, we're getting a massive advertising from all these YouTubers who felt, oh, I've been chosen, I'm so special. No, we haven't been chosen, not any of us, me included. They do anyway. So I have been offered quite a lot of things over the years, and I'll say no for a couple of reasons. Actually, there's one main reason that I say no to when I'm offered free stuff. It's just not something I would use anyway. So like the grow lights, that's a perfect example. I just wouldn't use them. I suppose it falls into 3 categories. I've also been offered stuff. I was offered a pair of wellies one year, fantastically expensive. They're American, it's an American brand. I had to look them up, I didn't know them. I nearly fell off my chair when I looked. There was something like £250 for a pair of these boots. I mean, they looked fantastic, gorgeous, but I said no. I said no thank you, because, and this is really important to me as well, one of the whole points of my entire channel, whether I'm in the garden or in the kitchen or doing something at home, one of the whole points of it is to demonstrate that it is possible to live a really happy, fulfilling, peaceful, joy-filled life on less money. That's kind of like the whole message of my channel in a way, isn't it? Live richly on less. So it would seem, for me, it would seem really, really hypocritical if here I am saying to all of you, hey, you can garden for pennies each year, if I'm sitting in a pair of designer welly boots for 250 quid. It's just because I know that the vast majority of folk who watch my channel watch because they're in a similar-ish situation in terms of not having a massive budget to play with. And suddenly you'd be watching me presenting my videos in a pair of welly boots you could never afford. That would be horrible. It would be horrible. That would be just hypocrisy beyond. So I said no thank you to that. So yeah, I say no thank you if it's not something I would use anyway. No thank you if I think it's something that you all and me wouldn't be able to afford in our normal, day-to-day lives. I think that's the main thing, yeah. It's got to be within my own normal... In other words, I would only accept a freebie from a company if it's something I would buy myself. Is that something I would go out and buy? £250 welly boots? No way. Or grow lights? No, because I don't need grow lights. And that kind of leads me on to another point, that as a YouTuber, I've never asked for any freebies. I know some channels spend quite a lot of time knocking on, not literally, knocking on company doors to say, hey, why don't you send me a free shed or free greenhouse? People can see it in my videos. So I've not done that either. And again, it comes back to that thing of, I'm only showing stuff that I buy because I'm trying to demonstrate the affordability. How to put it? I think you'll get what I'm trying to say. There's no way I could afford a £3,000 greenhouse, so why would I try and get one for free from a company to show you? I can't afford it, you can't afford it. And it seems unfair that, I think it would be unfair for me to get free stuff because I'm no more deserving than any of you. But if if there you are without a YouTube channel, you can't get it for free, can you? So why should I? I think that's kind of what it all boils down to, is this is a level playing field. I'm trying to, all I do with any of my videos is show you what I do with my life, how I spend and how I live and how I manage on relatively little money, but still manage to have a happy, fun-filled life. So all of that sponsorship, that just wouldn't fit. That wouldn't fit my brand, as it were, if I have a brand. Do I have a brand? I don't know. I guess I do, to a degree. And then... so then we come on to the subject of things like Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee, and people keep mentioning there's a thank you button on YouTube. It did pop up once on one of my videos and I asked YouTube to get rid of it. I don't want that. This is a slightly different thing. I have thought about it honestly, I have thought about it from time to time, about having sort of memberships and things like that where you don't even necessarily get anything extra. It's just, oh, support my channel. Yeah, I get the ick about about that. I just think, I know what it's like in life to miss out on something because you can't afford it. There have been channels in the past that I've really enjoyed, and then they start to move more and more and more of their content over to Patreon, and I don't blame them, I'm not having a go at them either, but then I can't afford their Patreon membership, and so I start to feel left out. And then when you watch the videos that are accessible to all, as in they're not on the paid bit, you'll hear YouTubers saying, oh yeah, oh no, that was in my Patreon video. If you want to know about that, go over to my Patreon. And it's this feeling of, there's a sort of exclusivity about it where, you know, only the posh people can go into that club. It's like, that's what it is, isn't it? It's like a club, and I'm excluded because I can't pay for it. And I just don't want that at all for any of my viewers, because I know that a lot of you, I know some of you could afford it, great, but I know there's a lot of folk who simply wouldn't be able to do it, and I don't want to exclude anyone. It's really as simple as that. I know what it feels like, so I don't want to make any of you feel like that. And that might be me cutting my nose off to spite my face, and I'm not saying never, you know, down the line in the future. You know, YouTube have been cutting and cutting and cutting and cutting my pay for the last 2 years. It's ridiculous. Which is why I need, after I've moved, I need to ramp up with the sewing, and I have so many ideas. I cannot wait to get moved and get my sewing area set up. I'm fantasising, and I should stop because I have no idea what sort of property I'm going to get. But I am fantasising this kind of like permanently set up sewing area. Can't wait. Never say never. I'm not saying that I would never do Patreon. I'm not saying that I would never do Buy Me a Coffee. But I just think it's unlikely because, yeah, for that reason, I don't want anyone to feel left out. Right, I'm just going to have a quick look at this. Hang on, let me just go and, I'm going to go and stir the pot. Oops, I hadn't turned the heat up. It was on the lowest flame, the flame that I normally have it on for. Once it's come to the boil, bring it right down to the little lowest flame to simmer. So it's not even come to the boil yet. Good grief. Okay, now I'm wrapping that up and putting that aside. I don't mean any of that in any kind of negative way, gosh, if it came across like that, I don't mean it like that at all. I'm trying to be positive about these things, and just trying to, you know, keep things real between all of us. So there we go. So on a lighter note, because that can all sound it can all get a bit heavy, can't it? And I never want that. Hang on, oh, need to go and refill my water. Let me tell you about 2 little encounters I've had recently which just tickled me. One of them was outside my bookshop. I was walking up the street, and as I was walking on the street on the pavement, there's a lady. She was holding up a book and she had her camera, but she was kind of stepping backwards further into the street. So I sort of had to sort of slightly sidestep her. And she said, "Oh, sorry." And I said, "Oh, no problem." And then I said, "Why are you holding a book, a photograph from the..." I said, "Oh, that looks like an interesting book." And she said, "It's mine." It was adorable. I was like, "You're the author?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "Is it by any chance your first book?" And she said, "Yes, yes." And what's really lovely is she's local-ish. She was telling me local-ish. She's in this borough. And my bookshop, 'cause it's an independent bookshop, they stock whatever they want, and they're really good about stocking and trying to promote local authors. So the books have arrived from the printers, and they were going onto the shelf that day, and they'd called her to say, "Your book has arrived." So she whizzed down there to take a picture of her book outside the shop, and I just, you know, it's just so exciting, and you know, we stood and chatted for a minute, and I was obviously sort of beaming for her and saying, "Congratulations, how exciting to have your first book in print." yeah, and then she said, oh, I'm doing a reading. So we got chatting a bit, and I said, oh, I talk about books on YouTube. I said, I might have to see if I can get myself a copy of yours. She said, oh, well, I'm doing a reading at the end of the month. Come along and come and chat. What's your name? What's your name? So we had a nice little... So I'm going to see if towards the end of the month, she's got her book reading evening going on at the bookshop. So this is the new... Well, they're mostly new books, but they do have a second-hand and antiquarian section out back. So, yeah, I'll see if I can get along to her book reading. It'd be nice to just go and support her and say, hey, I'm the person you ran over in the street, sort of thing. Love it. I love these. Paul sent me a little a link the other day. It was about an author, one of the American authors. I can't remember now, but anyway, he was saying he wanted to pop out to buy an envelope, and his wife had said, just get them in bulk, order them online. And he said, no, I want to pop out because you never know what might happen. You never know what encounter you might have. And I feel exactly the same. Just get out, see who you meet on the street. So that was really lovely. And then there was another day when I had gone to my Turkish supermarket to buy vinegar. They do big bottles of vinegar. Now, I know that some of you know my Turkish supermarket. I know that some of you know my area. You will know that down the back, I mean, they pack so much into that shop. I'm going to ask them one day if I can take my camera in there with me, because honestly, it's like you're being on holiday. Suddenly all the wrappers, everything is in Turkish or Greek, and there's a bit of a Polish section. But anyway, yeah, it's packed to the rafters. Ooh. And the aisles are really quite tiny anyway, but down the far back on the left, so there's the wall of the shop, and it's this whole run of refrigerated section, which is all the different cheeses and hummus and salata and all that lovely stuff. And then opposite it is the aisle with all the oils and vinegars. I mean, there's just a massive, all sorts of different stuff. So I'm at this end, and it's got to be maybe 10 metres long, this bit of aisle, maybe a bit longer. And at the far end, there was a couple. And they were so cute. So hang on a sec. I think this might be boiling a bit too... Oh, ow! Boiling too viciously now. Hang on. I think... Oh, it smells good. Now I can turn it down to a simmer. Yeah, in the aisle, at the far end was a couple, I guess, early 80s, maybe late 70s. They looked a bit elderly. Oh, they were so cute. They were pretty much the same height, and they were little. They were only about 5'2" or 3", the pair of them. So they were both little, and they were both quite rotund, sort of the same. They were the same shape and size as each other. They were just so cute. And I looked at them and I thought, oh, they're like a little cruet set. They're like a little salt and pepper set. And I was thinking, I'd love a little old couple salt and pepper set. They were just adorable. He's got the basket over his arm, and she's, picking stuff off the shelf and he's stood there, he's like, his mind is lost elsewhere. He's just the basket carrier. Anyway, I'd kind of smiled to myself at the sight of them because, we live in a world where so many marriages don't last. My parents, their marriage didn't last, but my grandparents did. And so whenever I see elderly people and they're still a couple, I just think, oh, it's just too cute. It's too cute. That sounds so patronising, but it just melts me. It melts me. Anyway. So they're starting to come down the aisle towards me, and what I need is towards the other end of the aisle. And the thing is, with all the oils and stuff on the shelf, they put the big cans, like massive let's think about literage, 10, 15, maybe even some 20-litre cans of oil on the floor. So it gets narrower and narrower and narrower. And they're coming towards me, and so there's a moment where we need to pass each other, and we sort of do it. And I joked as we went past. I joked and I said, "These aisles aren't wide enough for my bottom. I do apologise." And he had the comeback of the year. It was brilliant. He looked at me with a little twinkle in his eye, and he said, "You only live once. You might as well make the most of it." I just thought, it's just brilliant, brilliant. It's like, who cares if you've got a big bum? And this, so he said that, and I said, "Oh my goodness, I love you." I said, "I could kiss you." And he went, "She might have a word." With his missus, and she was grinning too. Look, it's just the most simple little tiny moment, silly little thing, but yeah, just lovely. You only live once, you might as well make the most of it. Enjoy yourself. Yeah, what a great attitude. So I carried on my way and got my vinegar, exited around the top end of the aisle so I didn't have to worry the two of them again, but they were just so cute, and that utter togetherness, yeah, it makes me a bit weepy actually, because it's so lovely, and it's like, that's kind of what I wanted for myself too, but never mind. Oh, pricky. Right, I think I've been burbling on for long enough. My water needs replenishing, so I think I should probably crack on with other stuff. I'm definitely going to look into malt extract though, and see, is it really going to be... I'll look at the price, and bearing in mind it's like maybe a teaspoon a day, so the cost per day shouldn't be too much. But yeah, if it can help gut bacteria, then, that's a good thing, isn't it? So I'll have a look into that. I mean, never mind, I just want to eat some. And distract myself from thinking too much about all those lovely puddings, and just stick with my apples and satsumas, and because they're doable for less than 50p a day. Yay! All right, lovelies, I'm looking at the pin board. Where am I going to see you next? Probably the next thing. Oh no, I'm not going to predict what's next. I think I know what's next, but I'm not going to predict it just in case it doesn't happen for whatever reason. So all I will say is I'll see you again really soon. So until then, happy making the most of leftovers for a soup. It's going to be so orange. What I might do is, if I remember, is take a photo of it when it's done, and I'll put that on Facebook so you can see just how orange my orangey soup is. But yeah, for now I'm just going to say have a good day, whatever you're up to. If it's been a rubbish day, have a better day tomorrow. There's always tomorrow, isn't there? And I'll see you sometime around tomorrow, the day after. For now though, cheerio lovelies.